Hey there, this is to David at the Pursuit blog in response to the question, how do Christians affect your atheism? Although really there's two questions here. The first one being, how does the behavior of Christians affect my beliefs? The second one being, how does the behavior of Christians affect my perception of Christians? So, in answer to the first, I have to say that when looking at Christians, if I am trying to deconstruct them, if I'm trying to understand where their belief comes from, I don't really try to ascribe a cause. I'm far more interested in understanding the person that I'm looking at. I'm more interested in how a person's beliefs, how a person's faith informs their actions. I think that gives us a much more useful window, much more useful insight into who they are than asking the question, what caused them to have their beliefs? Because beliefs are something active. They're also not something that just happens. And I see this a lot in Christian literature. Kind of the idea that conversion experiences occur in a moment because an angel appeared and showed you a miracle, or a believer said just the right thing at just the right time. I can't dispute that those things happen, but I think the kind of faith that would come out of kind of an instantaneous one-off event would not really be worth much. That the kind of faith that really affects people, the kind of faith that people would, I don't know, say for example, be willing to die for, is something that is actively woven into their life over a long period of time. So in that sense, I guess that kind of takes me back to answering the question for myself, how do I perceive Christians, is directly related to this. What is their faith really worth? If all that a believer can do with their faith is go around and pick fights with people who don't believe the same way they do, then I don't consider their faith to be worth much. But someone who devotes their life to altruism, someone who is selfless, or even just someone who lives a life of being what can generally be construed as a good person, someone who is pro-social, and generally doesn't make a mess of themselves, and they attribute it to their religion, then that does reflect positively. Now, a lot of people present the argument that belief is something personal. It doesn't really relate to other people. And for me, that's not really true in terms of the theist-atheist split. The thing is that as a philosophical empiricist, functionally speaking, as a scientist, as someone who attempts to observe the reality around me and make informed conclusions out of it, I do indeed judge Christianity in terms of practicing Christians. I contend, for example, I personally believe that any kind of religious belief puts you at risk of being taken advantage of because it requires you to suspend your critical faculties. Now, I don't believe this in a vacuum. I am constantly looking out into the culture to see whether this belief is confirmed or disconfirmed. So, in a way, very importantly, I really appreciate finding rational believers, particularly in the Christian community, just because that's what I was raised in. That's what resonates for me. I really appreciate seeing that even if the risk that I see is real, that it can be minimized. That you don't have to jump all the way into the deep end. So, in terms of my own beliefs, how they will or won't change is really wholly independent of the actions of evangelicals. No one is going to proselytize me with a really great argument or a really great speech. It's not that I'm hard-hearted or hard-headed. That's just the nature of belief. Anything that would change my mind would have to get to the core of the things I believe, not just focusing on the superficial. But how I perceive Christians is very much a artifact. It's very much a product of what I actually see. I am constantly taking in information to modify and refine my position on whether or not theism is bad for people. So that's my interest personally. So for me, it makes a big difference in how I perceive Christianity, what its effect is, what its worth is, just based on the general respect or lack of respect, the general reason or lack of reason, and so on and so forth, that I see in the religious community. So, for example, you had a question about atheists, and you took the question to the atheist community. Not all of us are very polite, so I appreciate the question, and I'll follow your videos as they come out. Thanks. Take care.